I'd like to call the meeting of the Joint Special School Building Committee to order. We're at the Nashua High School North Lecture Hall. It's Thursday, November 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m. If the clerk would please call a roll.
Alderman Dowd?
Present.
Alderwoman Wilshire? Here. Alderwoman Clee is, I don't see her here. Alderwoman Timmons? Here. Alderman Sullivan?
Here.
Miss Raymond? Here. Miss Lampier is not here today. I am here. Miss Gilio? Here. Mr. Claffey?
Here.
And we have a quorum. Okay, if the clerk would please read the prayer and Jen, would you lead us in the pledge?
Oh, all of it tonight.
Oh, yeah, both of them.
Okay. Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the educational affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment, greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Great. There are no objections. I'll waive the reading of the minutes of October 23rd, 2023 and place them on file. Remarks by Chairman. Thank you everyone for being out this evening. We lucked out with a nice warm day. I just want to tell everybody we're in desperate trouble because I just moved my snowblower into my garage. So I just want to tell you. All right, remarks by school administration. Mario, do you want
to? Nothing significant, but just touring the schools and the progress. Always impressed by the collaboration in support of the JSSBC and the work of our construction partners. It's truly amazing and transformation going on.
John?
Just to note that the December joint special meeting is also going to be a little bit early on the 21st of December, which is the third Thursday instead of the fourth.
Okay, we'll move right into the architect's report. Jamie from Harriman.
Good evening, everyone. Jamie Willett, Harriman. Tonight, I didn't have my usual reports. I didn't have a presentation, but I did want to make sure I came and spoke to the fact that we continue to make coordination efforts in the construction field with Harvey. I know we have at McCarthy Middle School, we have a punch list for areas B and C coming up right after the Thanksgiving holiday. So we'll be walking through and doing our final punch list of that. We've had a little communication on the furniture procurement. Everything seems to still be in line with the schedule that's proposed. And we continue to just coordinate with Harvey Construction on the efforts in the field. And the same goes for Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable as far as the construction coordinating with them, communications with the EEI on any elements that reflect the architectural design. I know that we did have a structural engineer and myself on site about 3 weeks ago now doing some SVO investigations, some site visit observations. And so the effort's going well, and I too am happy to see the positive effort going forward.
Thank you. Any questions for the architect? None. We'll move on to the construction manager's report. Harvey, Ken, are you kicking it off? Or?
Sure. Did you want the athletic director to go before us?
Yes, let's. Ms. Gingras is here to discuss something that needs our approval, and so we can have her speak now, and she doesn't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You can come up in one of the spots. Yeah. Yeah, when we designed this room, we should have put more room between the slide and the.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again.
Introduce yourself.
Oh,
for the-
sorry. Lisa Jingras. I'm the athletic director for the school district. In, I believe, the agenda materials for tonight, there is a memo to the committee asking for up to $20,000 to purchase all new uniforms for McCarthy Middle School. Even though colors are staying, the dominant color is still red going from Elm Street to McCarthy. It's a different school name, it's a different mascot, it's a different logo. So we need to replace everything, which is not normally how we do things. So those funds obviously are not in my budget. So I would request that of the middle school building project in a nutshell.
The questions asked, yes, we do have money in our budget. But get the uniforms, we want the approval of the joint spec.
Yes, exactly.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Raymond.
So, Ms. Jingers, I know you're the athletic director, but I'm
Yes.
curious about band as well, because band has those jackets. Do we have any sense about where the band uniforms are going to come from?
I have not spoken to them, but I'm, again, obviously I would think new building, we want new everything. I'm not familiar whether they have logos or their school name or anything like that, or if they're just red and white. So,
I think they say Elm Street on them, and they have
Yeah.
an eagle now.
so I would assume those would also be coming before you.
You have to ask first.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
Does anybody know the band director?
I will email him later.
But that's why I wanted to come. As I specified, kind of need to get the process rolling in order to have everything in time for the school to open in August. So we needed to start, I have the quotes from the company we have a contract with, but to get into the nitty gritty of the design and the colors and the logo placement and the sizing and numbering and all of that stuff, I'd really like to get this going probably by February so that we can guarantee we have everything in before the school year starts.
Additional questions? Okay. And I entertain a motion to approve the acquisition of the uniforms that Ms. Jingras just pointed out for the McCarthy Middle School.
So moved. Sorry,
Oh, it's a
Laura.
I'll make that fight.
motion. It doesn't
Alderman
matter.
Wiltshire made the motion. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a clarifying question for up to $20,000, or do we just want to give her a blank check? Because I'm
I'll
okay
take
with
the
that,
blank
too.
check.
The quotes and everything are up to 20,000.
The 20,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
I just want
quote-
to update, make sure my notes reflect it.
The current quotes that I have are for a little under 19,000, but I,
Okay.
got them in October, so prices could change between now and when the orders are actually placed.
So I have up to $20,000. So yes, I agree. So it passes.
So the motion passes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yep. All right. Back to Harvey.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Ken Lemaria, project manager with Harvey Construction. So we'll start off, we'll do the construction update for the McCarthy Middle School, and then I'll turn it over to our other project manager, Brendan Orell, and he'll give you an update on Birch Hill, Main Dunstable Elementary. And then we do have one PCO for Pennachuck Middle School dehumidification. So we'll get into that after the construction update. So starting over at McCarthy, so as always, we start at the exterior. So you can see things are taking shape. So in the upper left-hand corner here, you're looking at area building C. So you can kind of see how the transition between the masonry brick veneer and the tactile panels, the concrete panels. So it kind of gives you a good idea how things are going to look and how it all ties into the tactile panels adjacent to it. So it is a nice looking building here.
All the sunshades are up on that side of the building.
Correct. So I guess starting in the site work portion of it, so we're kind of fine tuning the grades until the weather doesn't cooperate with us. So probably through December, just getting everything kind of close so we can start up and do the final grades and the final landscaping in the spring. The paving at Buck Meadow to tie into the existing sidewalk and the abutters land has been completed. We'll be wrapping up the concrete sidewalks before the weather turns over the next couple of weeks. Again, we'll be kind of just cleaning up the job site for the winter, kind of fortifying all the site fencing and making sure that we're clean before any snow arrives, and then kind of be in a good spot for when spring turns next year in 2024. All the AVB building envelope is completed. Metal right now, all the metal panels and tactile panels are just about there. We probably have another month or so, and then brick veneer has probably another month or two to go. We are running the part of the project was that we had to run a fiber communication line for fire alarm and internet from all the way from this high school all the way to the new site. So if you were on Buck Meadow today, you probably saw some workers there. So they're working their way slowly to the site. So we got probably another week or two worth of work to get that permanent line run to the school. The inside. So Jamie mentioned earlier that he'll be doing his punch list, which is a good sign because that means that we're on schedule and that we're pretty much into finishes on building C and B. So building C is relatively complete, working from the bottom floor up, and building B isn't too far behind. Building D, we're kind of fine tuning a few things and not far behind the other buildings as well. So the big thing in all of these buildings is to get all of the air handling units up and running. So we do plan on getting all of those fired up over the next few weeks. We do have heat running throughout the building, so water is running through the building. We have one of the boilers is already up and running, and we have all the exterior fin tube running and getting heat to the building. So that is one of the major milestones that we hit over the last month or so. That's important because it helps us with the finishes. We have a lot of wood and a lot of nice things that we need to make sure that we maintain temperate levels inside the building. So area A, which is kind of the main entrance in the gym and where all the unified arts areas are, you can see that the gym equipment is being installed. The gym is moving along nicely right now. A lot of back of house stuff still ongoing. A little bit of mechanical roughing going on, but for the most part, we're starting to get into finishes there. So I know we've been working with the kitchen folks and making sure that everything's going in according to their plan. So they've been taking tours. We've been leading a few tours with the help of the district and Mr. Smith's team, making sure that everything is kind of falling in line on site. Questions on McCarthy?
Sullivan?
Thank you. And looking at the pictures of the gym, is the idea to keep that ceiling exposed, or will you cover that up?
Correct, it's exposed. The only thing that's missing here is the divider curtain that goes down the middle. But for the most part, all of the gym equipment is in, except for the wall pads, of course. That'll go in probably one of the last items, late spring.
Bottom, there'll be the pads, and you want to use your laser point where the acoustic tiles are that pick up all the sound.
And the bleachers as well.
Just below the windows. No, that whole top level is sound absorbing.
Yeah, so the upper right-hand corner, this is a view from the top of the monumental stair in the cafeteria. So kind of, this is the entrance into the learning commons, and these are the, I guess the little nooks that overlook the cafeteria. And then there's a view of the performance stage right there.
Jamie, you had something?
Yeah, I was just gonna touch on the gym question about the open steel. You will occasionally see gyms that do have ceiling tiles placed in them. You'll also note that a lot of times those are damaged. The tiles are busted out, they're blown out, and they're hard to get to because they're so high up. And the reason there's usually ceilings in those spaces is often because it's acoustic, helps with the acoustics. What we do is we end up buying an acoustic or having specifying an acoustic deck, which has perforations in the decking above, which helps break up the sound inside that space. In addition, I think Alderman Dow was indicating that there's cementitious panels around the wall, and that kind of runs from that line that's just about at the line of the basketball hoop up. And those help break up the sound as well. They help really deaden that noise that gets from balls bouncing around. So it's treated quite well in there to help with the acoustics, but doesn't have the ceiling tiles that will get knocked out and banged up all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Alderman Wiltshire.
Question about like feeling.
Mike.
I'm not Mike. Do they spray the top of the ceiling? Does that do anything for acoustic? Or is that not something that's normally used?
You mean the decking and the steel up above, or?
I don't know. I've been in a gym where they've sprayed something that sticks to the top of the.
Some maybe fireproofing. There's no fireproofing in this area, so it's like it would be like a cementitious coating. This gym doesn't have that. This steel is sprayed with a paint. It's like a dry fall paint, but it's meant to. It's a sort of high quality paint that will stick to steel and stay up there for a long time, meant for exposed decks, but it doesn't have the acoustic cementitious fireproofing.
Any other questions on McCarthy? Yes, Alderman.
Okay, thank you, Jim Dow. This may be a dumb question, but I'm not into sports. So I see 4 basketball hoops, right? What you call them? Hoops, right?
Correct.
Is that normal?
Yep. So the two that you're like, there's one, if you're looking at the bottom right picture, the one that's off all the way to the right and the one that's the furthest away, that is your main court. So those are set, the court that's built inside that space is set for regulation middle school basketball. The other 2 on one side and 2 on the other are the practice courts, and there's a divider curtain that will be installed that's not there yet. That'll come down centered between those. And so during gym time, there may be 2 practices going on at a time, or after school or rec. And so that divider curtain will create the opportunity for 2 teams to play on a smaller court in practice. And it is very, very, very common, yes. Especially at middle school setting, middle school and high school.
And to follow up, you pull those up when there's a game, right?
Correct. All of these have retraction, so they can be retracted up in the upright position.
Any other questions? All right.
To go back to the answer, question about the decking in the gym, so it is a different type of deck than in the other areas of the building. It's like actually like an acoustic deck that's perforated, and it does have that paint that Jamie mentioned, so it does help absorb the sound. Any other questions on McCarthy?
Hello, everyone. Brendan Arell, Project Manager, Harvey Construction. Give you a quick update on Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable and where we stand with the progress on those 2 schools. So a quick update on the phase 1 areas, which were the portables, the cafeteria, and the temporary classrooms in the gymnasium. So as you can see in the upper left-hand image, I had shared at the previous meetings that we were pushing to get those window shades in just to create that comfortable, safe feel within the cafeteria space. So those were installed in the previous weeks. They arrived a few weeks early. So we got those in at Birch Hill, and they're currently going in over at Maine Dunstable as well, and will be completed over the coming weeks. Inside the gymnasium, that image in the center at the bottom, we did work with Mr. Smith's team, as Ken had indicated at our previous meeting. We had heard some, complaints about noise within the classroom spaces within this gymnasium, just with the high ceilings and everything. So we did work with Mr. Smith's team to use some old sound panels that we had stored away, and we were able to get those installed. And we've heard a lot of great feedback over the previous few weeks. Another item that was sort of a housekeeping thing was the 2 portables that we brought over to Birch Hill from Elm Street. One of those had a pretty significant leak in the roof, just due to degradation. So we also worked with Mr. Smith's team there just to get a crew out while the kids were out of school, put a new roof on that to buy us another couple years and give them a nice, comfortable spot. Jumping into the cafeteria, so we do have, I had shared at the previous couple of meetings, we had 1 space that's been on hold. Matt's team had a major undertaking to get all of his electrical infrastructure moved from that toilet room that Ken just highlighted to the back side of that wall into a closet. So that work has since been performed, which I'll let Matt touch on later. But it's now allowing us to get into that space to frame those walls and get that bathroom completed. Not a top priority as the school, does have those 2 new restrooms there, but still something we want to get turned over to the school as soon as possible. Next slide, again. Jumping into the phase 2 areas, which is combination of 4th grade, 3rd grade, and the kindergarten. So in that center image, right at the bottom there, you can see the new handrails were installed over the last week at Birch Hill. They will be installed next week at Main Dunstable. You can see that double railing configuration there with the bottom rail for the smaller kindergarten students to give them a safe path of egress down that staircase. The image on the right, you can see some of the finishes starting to come into play. We've gotten the ceiling grids in. That is actually an interior view as well of the storefront assemblies that have been replaced. So those have all been completed at both schools. That little portion you see there with the 2 little pieces of insulation. So those are actually an operable sash portion. It pushes out to allow a little bit of fresh air in, but not, a student couldn't get out of it or anything. Those come a few weeks later. They're pre-glazed in the factory, so those will get installed over the coming weeks as well. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see Matt's team's been hard at work. We got them out of all the ceiling spaces, got our ceiling grid in, and now they've really concentrated in those mechanical rooms, doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, getting the duct work tied into all the air handling units and getting everything up and running so we can fire those units up and deliver fresh air, ventilation, heating, and cooling to all the students. So I'll let Matt run through that a little bit more afterwards. His team's also been working very hard to get all the perimeter fin tube radiation similar to what Ken had mentioned at McCarthy. So with these existing schools having a boiler that's operational and hot water flowing around, instead of expending additional resources to bring in temporary heat, we just get that fin tube up and running, get the space tempered and make it nice and comfortable so those finishes can continue on. Next slide. So nice exterior views here, show the outside of the building, try to go inside then outside. So as you can see all the way over to the right, that's a picture of Birch Hill. So all of these storefront assemblies, there's still one that was there in that image. Those have all since been replaced. And at the bottom of those, over the previous days, all of the precast sills were installed as well. So those finishes are coming along nicely. And then as I stated, once we get the sashes in there and the finished glass, the child guard laminated glass on the lower level, that will be the completed state of those storefront assemblies and the precast. It really, really makes a big difference. And a couple other things we have going on. So as you can see in the center image on the bottom there, a lot of exterior door replacements. So just getting, the new hardware sets, new doors in there, replacing them in their entirety. As you can see, there's some temporary plywood in place for now as we wait on that child guard glazing, which does come a few weeks after. But all of those items are really ongoing and moving. And then as we, transition through the next couple of months, we'll find some time to get out there and do some finish paint on those doors and get really all the finishes in place. So. And still tracking on schedule to get Jamie and his team in there, probably maybe the last week of January, but probably the first 2 weeks of February. Give some time for his team to punch list that space and give the district an opportunity to make sure they can walk through, get everything moved in time and ready for the February turnover. Matt, you want to touch upon your items?
You pretty much stole my show. Thank you. Jumping back to the phase one. Oh, sorry, Matt Smith with the EI. Jumping back to the phase 1 area, like Brendan said, we had a nice push and we were able to get the electrical moved out of that bathroom so that Harvey can get in and get their finishes done. We do have plumbing fixtures there and ready to roll, so that should be turning over soon. Also in that area, we're getting ready. We had some of the fin tube. Now that the new storefronts are in, I believe we're getting ready to do that while the kids are gone on vacation for the Thanksgiving holiday break. So we should be wrapping up that area and getting out of the way 100%, which is good. And then in the classroom wing, as Brendan mentioned, we have gotten pretty much out of the ceilings as far as ductwork goes on. We've got a couple little small runouts and some insulation that we're buttoning up and things of that nature. But the bulk of it is out of the ceilings and run back to the main mechanical room. The two air handlers are both in there and have been sitting and waiting for a couple weeks now to start tying into. So we're getting ductwork run, line sets for the cooling back in there, and we'll start getting a lot of the plumbing and whatnot tied into for the reheat coils. So that room, probably the next time we meet, is going to look a whole lot tighter than what it is now. It looks like a nice big space in between, but we're going to be filling it up quickly with ductwork and different piping and whatnot. So also, Brendan touched on fin tube radiation throughout the spaces. So we are utilizing the permanent heating to heat it, so we're not wasting temporary resources and things of that nature. So we've been able to start randomly throughout the building, getting it where the masonry walls are. And now that the storefront windows are in and that's getting wrapped up, we'll start getting that finished out in front of it. I think you can see there's a couple pipes down there. Yep, sitting there and waiting for those to get installed. So we're going to keep pushing forward, getting the rest of the baseboard radiation done. Couple other quick notes. Things are progressing well with the electrical. We're starting to get some outlets on the walls and things tied in. We should start seeing some light fixtures up in the ceilings real soon over the next week or so. The low voltage wiring and data runs, fire alarm, we're making good progress on all of those. I know it's kind of things that you don't think of or notice most of the time, but there's quite a bit of work that goes into that, so I don't want to leave it out. And then sprinklers. So second floor of Birch Hill's pretty much done. Second floor, Main D, I think they're wrapping up. And then they'll circle back to Birch Hill to start working on the first floor, and then again, Main D just after. So all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is moving along nicely.
Any questions about the two elementary schools? Anything else? Schedule?
Yeah, that would be a good note. So I had reviewed very briefly with Mario last week. There was a couple minor changes that we did make in the Birch Hill schedule. And we sat down with both principals and walked through those items over the previous weeks. Just we found as we got into these phases and started the workflow with Matt's team and realized how much we were progressing, we looked at some of the future phases and wanted to try and find an opportunity with some of the concerns we've had with noise, mostly in the gymnasium classrooms, just trying to get the students out of those spaces earlier, and also allow us to get into that space earlier. Previously, we were showing that gym refinishing of the floor, et cetera, would take place sort of that final summer. And as many of you folks probably know, you're fighting with all of the other contractors across New England trying to get your floor refinished. So if we could get in there a little earlier and get the teachers out and the students out and into their permanent classrooms, we felt that to be advantageous. So after reviewing that with both principals and getting their confidence that they would be able to make those additional moves with Mr. Smith's team, we did push those schedule updates forward. So the overall project is still tracking on the exact same schedule, just two minor changes with the phase 4 and the phase 7 that we showed as the gym finishes, just to get those expedited.
Everyone good? But I don't think we have anything on Franklin Street. It's on the list, but Franklin Street's done. Done. Okay, and so you want to go back to
Thank you, Ken.
Penachuk?
Yeah.
Just so you know, before Ken starts getting into the details, we've always had the money in the budget to do the dehumidification at Penachuk Middle School. By the PCO, it's about just under $2 million. And we've always had the money in the Penachuk account. We hesitated and waited to make sure we were in good shape with McCarthy School before we moved out on this. So we have more than enough money to do the dehumidification now, and ask for approval of the PCO tonight, and Ken is now going to explain it in detail.
So I will,
Oh, sorry.
Ken can chime in if you, yeah, feel free to jump in. Ken and I have both been working really hard on this PCO just to bring in the major subcontractors to make it happen and get the pricing finalized and make sure that it's a really competitive price. So ultimately, the overall scope for this project, and Jamie, feel free to chime in on any design aspects if you'd like, but it's essentially a VRF system throughout both the north and the south additions. And what that is it's the cooling set units that you commonly see within classroom spaces, and provides that additional supplemental cooling to really make that space comfortable and a really good learning environment. So as Alderman Dowd had touched upon, there's always been a design within the project, and it was sort of shelved as something that may come down the road as we got further along with the McCarthy project and determined that we were in standing. So this PCO number 46 in the value of $1,899,045, if approved, would release the spending of the existing project funds to allow us to move forward with this dehumidification scope as defined within the PCO. So this would be for the base bid of that for both the north and south additions. We'd come in basically from April throughout the summer of next year to get this project undertaken and complete this additional work. So again, this is for Penachuk Middle School, PCO number 46. The value is $1,899,045.
Okay, and the reason we're doing this now is because there's lead time on the equipment, and we have to get the equipment on order so they'll be able to do the work when nobody's in school. So I will need a motion to approve PCO number 46 for the Penachuk Middle School prime contract for the dehumidification base bid from both north and south additions in the amount of $1,899,045. Raymond?
I'll make the motion, but I have questions.
Okay, so the motion's on the floor. Now you may ask your question.
Okay, thanks. So I have two questions. The first question is, did we do something like this for fairgrounds? I know there was only like $25,000 left in the fairgrounds budget.
So, Sean, I know you know the buildings very well, so feel free to correct me if I'm mistaken. But so the vast majority of the fairgrounds building does have air conditioning already in it. So that was really the incentive behind this from Jamie's team was to provide that additional supplemental cooling that the other schools didn't have and reach that point of equity for all the middle school projects. So that's really the incentive behind.
Sean has an answer.
If I could add, so yes, Fairgrounds pretty much is air conditioning completely. We did the tech ed wings, music classrooms 5-6 years ago to complete that. Of course, at McCarthy, it's going to be 100% air conditioned. So at Penachuk, just want to point out, so if you look at your
That was my next
agenda,
question. You've anticipated me. Good job.
we always include the budget and how much money is left. So there's in excess of 1.9 million, so 1.93 million set aside for this. This number we presented is less than that, so that's a good thing. And we still have funds. The other piece of that is the architect, his engineers will be overseeing that part of the project. And there are funds all still in the budget for that. And our commissioning agent will also be overlooking the installation.
The big question is we don't need any additional more funds in the Penachuk account to do this.
Right. So where does I guess my question is, if we approve this, that'll leave us with what, $30,000, give or take 30 afterwards. Where does that money go? Does it just wait? Where did the fairgrounds money go?
So the way the bond is situated for the middle school project, like any money that was left at fairgrounds get moved over to Penachuk. And anything that when we're done, anything left at Penachuk will go to the McCarthy School. In the end, we're going to have money left. And there's two options. Either we don't sell bonds to cover that money, Board of Aldermen will make it go away structurally in a resolution. Or it can be allocated by the Board of Aldermen to some other project. But we'll have money left over and addressing that when we're sort of finishing McCarthy. Any money is left over at Penachuk. The bond is for the entire middle school project, including fairgrounds, Penachuk, and McCarthy.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Sean?
If I could just add on to that. So this takes care of the new wings, the north and south wings, either side of the main corridor. The Learning Commons already have air conditioning separately. The new course room has air conditioning already.
And the computer labs
And
as well.
Computer labs, yeah. So what's going to be remaining after all this, assuming we approve this tonight, is the center part of the building, which is like referred as the old classroom wings. There are some portions that do have air conditioning, but most of it does not. The cafeteria has partial air conditioning. The gym has none. To me, Jim, you're supposed to sweat, so that's okay. And then the tech ed wing, I refer to as tech ed wing, but it's the wood shop, but it's also music classes, like that. That does not have air conditioning. So our plan then is we already have the estimates for those, is to put those in our capital improvement request this coming year.
The one kicker in that, if we were to do the middle part of the school, we would have to replace the transformer, which takes about 2 years to replace from an ordering standpoint, and it's costly. So right now we're doing the two wings because they are low, flat roofs. They need to be dehumidified or air conditioned, and hopefully that air flows back into the center of the building as well.
Correct. And to add to that point, Alderman Dowd, so I think we've worked very heavily with Gabe's team and found the spaces that are really advantageous to provide this additional resource within them. To Sean's point, there are several areas within the building that are and these seem to be the areas that are most affected by the temperature. So I think these areas are really the primary areas to focus on. And then also with the infrastructure standpoint, so the way Jamie's team approached the design with this, a big piece of the infrastructure is structural steels to support the rooftop equipment. And that is undertaken under this initial phase. So it's a big piece of that infrastructure that goes in to support those potential future alternates that they had priced out.
And the other question that nobody's asking is that we already took into account that we had solar on the roof and we left room for this equipment so the solar doesn't get in the way. Another question?
I did. Just as someone who really despises heat and humidity, and has worked in many schools where it's been awful at the beginning of the school year, the end of the school year, what is the difference between the parts of Penachuk that are going to be dehumidified versus the parts that already have air conditioning? How is it going to feel to the people walking into the building? Or are you going to even notice?
Well, I'm not sure I quite understand. The ones that have air conditioning are still going to have it.
Right.
This will take care of those two new classroom wings. The
So
library already has it.
Library already has it.
is
There are still spaces that don't have it.
Is dehumidification another word for air conditioning? I thought it was, okay, because I thought from its description that it was something a little less than air conditioning.
It is a little less. It's not full air conditioning. It's going to take all the humidity out of the air, which is what really affects us. And it'll lower the temperature somewhat. If it's 90 degrees outside, instead of being 90 inside, it might be 78, something like that, but without the humidity.
Thank you.
Can't chill beef with this. Just make it comfortable for people. Questions, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Maybe just a process question. I didn't see the change order on the agenda, and I see you have a copy of it. Did we get a copy of it and I missed it?
So it is on the agenda
Yeah.
about halfway through the construction managers. It's a PCO,
Okay,
and it should be one of the attachments that were in
Attachments
your
that were
packet.
sent out?
okay. And one more question.
Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Smith, you mentioned the amount, I think you mentioned 1.9. Is that the line item, the owner and architect contingency
Correct,
line
yes.
item? Okay.
Any other questions? Motion on the floor is to approve PCO number 46 in the amount of $1,899,045. Other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for,
No, thank you.
okay, Sean?
Invoices, reading from your agenda. We have 2 invoices from Energy Efficient, aka EEI, for work at Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable totaling $1,405,965.06. We have 4 invoices from Harvey Construction for work at McCarthy Middle School, Franklin Street, Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, totaling $2,887,551.97. Switch page. 1 invoice from Hayner Swanson for surveying work. They also oversee all the wetlands and ensure that it's being taken care of properly. And that was for $964.47. Perch Furniture, that's again it is what it says it is. It was furniture for Franklin Street, $28,196.38. John Turner Consulting is our testing agent for work at Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable. 3 invoices totaling $4,816.24. Lastly, Bichette Brothers Construction, 1 invoice for additional work at Pennachuck. This had to do with the curbing and bollard work, adding bollards for $4,235 even. That totals as follows for Franklin Street, $47,053.62. For the middle school project, $2,186,282.83. And for Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, $2,098,392.67. Those all total $4,331,729.12.
Okay, I'll need a motion to approve the invoices for the Franklin Street, $47,053.62, the middle school project, $2,186,282.83, and the Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable invoices in the amount of $2,098,392.67, for total invoices to be paid this evening, $4,331,729.12. Who'd like to make that motion? By Alderman.
Hear that. I'm not going to say by
Alderman
who.
Timmons.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions on the invoices? Yes, Mrs. Raymond.
When we toured Franklin Street, which looks amazing, by the way, he still had some lockers on order. Do we know if the lockers came in yet?
Was that part of the furnishing package? I'm not sure.
I don't know. So there were, I'm going to get the numbers wrong now. There were like 12 lockers and 18 kids or something. There were not as many lockers as students. And he said that he had ordered some more lockers, and I was just curious.
So everything from the furnishing FF&E budget has been received. I may have bought those with school allocation funds. I'm not familiar with it.
All right. Any other
No,
questions
they
on
have
the
strict rules about
invoices?
phones. I know they need a place.
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Comments by committee members? Yes.
Thank
Alderman
you.
Timmons.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Gilio, Ms. Bishop, Alderman Sullivan, Alderman Dow, and Alderwoman Wilshire for winning their reelection. And I'm looking forward to working with you again in the next 2 years. So congratulations.
Took my thunder. I was going to say that. The only other thing, oh, yes,
Oh, it's,
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
well, since Ms. Timmons was so gracious, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Timmons for being the Grand Marshal of the Veterans Day Parade, which was so engrossing. I guess my wife watched the end of a meeting the other night, and she said she watched every minute.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
The other thing is we get past the Thanksgiving holiday and perhaps before Christmas or after Christmas, if people want to arrange a tour for the joint special at the McCarthy School, it changes daily. A lot of things going on. Even the pictures they're always out of date because by the time they take them and present them here, tons of things have been going on. That's busy there all the time. So as I mentioned, all the sunshades are, at least back part of the building, are all mounted. All the trees are planted. Well, not all the trees, but the majority of the trees are planted on the Buck Meadow. I mean, on the Medallion side to form that buffer. We have a few more trees going in that won't be Bartlett pear trees,
Bradford pears.
Bradford or whatever.
So thank you very much for following up on that.
But
the
they
idea
will
of-
be flowering trees. I understand the flowers originally red and then they turn white, but so it'll be.
Serviceberry trees,
Yes.
native trees that will help our pollinators.
So that'll be
I'm
good.
looking happy about it.
Any other comments from any of the members? Seeing none, we don't need a non-public. Do I have a motion? Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 7:48 PM and the next meeting is December 21st, right here.